Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtake. We are continuing with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, chapter number 4, The Appearance of Sri Narada, text number 1. Vyasa uvacha iti bruvanam samstuya muninam dirgha satrinam vridaha kulapatihi sutam bahavrichaha shaunako abraved. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Vyasadeva said, on hearing Sutta Goswami speak thus, Shaunaka Muni, who was the elderly, learned leader of all the rishis, engaged in that prolonged sacrificial ceremony, congratulated Sutta Goswami by addressing him as follows. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So, today we will learn from this chapter how we can transform our hearts by focusing on very simple spiritual habits. Now, in the beginning of this series of Srimad Bhagavatam, I had talked about how two conversations are going on simultaneously. So, one is between Shukadev Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, and the other is Sutta Goswami and the sages. Now, Shaunaka Rishi, he was also present when Sutta Goswami was speaking the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the one that he had heard from Shukadev Goswami. So Shaunaka Rishi is now praising Sutta Goswami. And from this particular verse, we can see that both the speaker and the audience have to be bona fide. That's the standard of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada says this in the purport that Shaunaka Rishi is now going to praise Sutta Goswami. He congratulated Sutta Goswami, and only actually the leader in the assembly who is congratulating should have two qualifications according to this verse. One is he has to be learned, and second, he has to be elderly. So appreciating Sutta Goswami was done based on realization. That's personal realization. So that personal realization is very, very important. Not, praising somebody to show off, or praising somebody to go on the better side of that person, or to be good to that person, to be in good books of that person. No, here Shaunaka Rishi, even though he was a great personality, he was learned, he was elderly, and he was qualified to congratulate Sutta Goswami, still he was very humble. He told Sutta Goswami that you're most fortunate and respected, right? That in fact, Sutta Goswami is telling Shaunaka that you are fortunate and respected. So here, everybody is very keen or very looking forward to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is one of the qualifications, that one has to be very eager to hear Bhagavatam and be attentive also. So here, Shaunaka Rishi wants Sutta Goswami to relate that pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, because everybody was eager to hear. So Shaunaka Rishi is asking question. He's saying when, where, and why Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled. Very important questions, right? From where did Vyasadeva get that inspiration to write Srimad Bhagavatam? So if we think about this, you can say these are very intelligent and relevant inquiries. Then Shaunaka Rishi informs Sutta Goswami and everybody else, Sutta Goswami informs everybody else along with Shaunaka Rishi about how did this all happen. He talks about how Shukadev Goswami, who was the son of Vyasadeva, was a great devotee. He was transcendental, he was liberated, and above all, he was very alert. He was very conscious because the moment he came out of the womb of his mother, he was conscious not to get attracted by Maya, not to get trapped in illusion. He was because he was liberated. And how? Because he engaged in progressing spiritually. While he was in the womb, he was hearing his father Vyasadeva talk about the glories of the Supreme Lord. So those who are liberated, they are always looking forward to progressing spiritually, even though they are already liberated. You see, it doesn't mean that, oh, I have become liberated, now my work is done, business is done, so now I can relax. No. But those who are conditioned, who are, attracted by illusion and Maya, they cannot understand, and it is very difficult for them to become liberated. Liberated means is awake, is always in knowledge, is always, afraid of Maya, of illusion, that, that attraction does not happen. So is always alert. But those who are conditioned, they are sleeping, like, there's a beautiful Vaishnava song, sleeping in the lap of Maya. And that means ignorant. They are ignorant. So only those who are alert, they are able to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. Example is given by Shaunaka Rishi. He explains, in fact, Sukadev Goswami, he came out of the womb, as I said, and he walked out. So Sutta Goswami is explaining that as he walked out, when you come out of the womb, there are no clothes. So Shukadev Goswami, even though he was 16 years old, he was naked and he was walking and he went through the forest. Now over there was a pond and young girls were bathing in that pond. So when Shukadev Goswami passed from there, they didn't bother to cover themselves up. But Vyasadeva, who was running after his son, Shukadev Goswami, was running after him to stop him from going away. When he crossed that pond area, the women in the pond, they immediately covered themselves. See, those beautiful young girls, they covered themselves. So Shaunaka Rishi wants to know why. Why that difference between father and son? So there it is explained that because Shukadev Goswami was already liberated, not that Vyasadeva was not, but Shukadev Goswami was a brahmachari, unmarried, and he did not differentiate between man or woman. He was not on the bodily concept of life. And but Vyasadeva, he made that distinction. There is a beautiful verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Vidya Vinaya Sampane, Brahmane Kavi Hastine, Swani Choyaba Swapakicha, Panditaha Samadarshina. Samadarshina means equal vision. So one who is Pandita, a learned person, he sees everybody on equal level. That means no difference between man and woman. And that was a state of consciousness of Shukadev Goswami. So the ladies understood the mind of Shukadev Goswami. They could see that he is very innocent. Whereas Vyasadeva, he was playing a part of a married man, a householder. Even though he had attained that same state of liberation as Shukadev Goswami, but the ladies could see that here is a married man, he's a householder, so they covered themselves. So Vyasadeva playing a part of householder, it was just a social custom that the ladies were following. Vyasadeva was not pretending to be liberated, but he was following the custom. So, Shukadev Goswami, being a liberated personality, he appeared like a dumb man. He did not want to interact with anybody. He did not want to get attracted by Maya or illusion. So when he entered Hastinapur, which is now called New Delhi, there people could not recognize him as he is liberated because they were not knowledgeable and they were not aware of his exalted position, that how such a great devotee he is, that he is a Mahajana, a great personality. You see? The Prabhupada mentions that a sage is not recognized by the outer appearance, no, not by the looks, but by the words that person speaks. So, because these people in Hastinapur had not heard Shukadev Goswami, they could not understand he is a liberated personality. So, important thing to understand is it is not by sight, by vision, but by hearing that we can recognize an advanced devotee. And it is mentioned in this chapter that Shukadev Goswami, he visited the house of a grihastha or a householder only for a few minutes. Just the time required to milk a cow, that's it. He would just, why? Not because he wanted something from them, but he wanted to give them something. That is what pure devotees do. They visit different homes to sanctify that home, because just the mere presence of a pure devotee is very auspicious. You see, usually people, they go to sadhus, sages to get blessed, to see them, but they forget to hear from them. So Shukadev Goswami, he could speak about Krishna and his pastimes. So now here sages, they want to know how Parikshit Maharaj met Shukadev Goswami. And how did he get an opportunity to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the essence of the Vedas? You see, Prabhupada says Vedas is not an imaginary story. No, it is documented. It's history. It is something that happened 5,000 years ago. You see? So Parikshit Maharaj, we all have heard, was a great first class devotee of Krishna. His birth was very, very fortunate because Krishna protected him in the womb of his mother. His activities are considered very wonderful. So the sages, they were inquisitive, they were anxious to hear more about Parikshit Maharaj. Now, one may say, how come we have heard that, yes, his birth was very wonderful because Krishna was present in the womb, gave him darshan in the womb, protected him from the brahmastra of Ashwatthama. But what about his activities? One of the most important activity of Parikshit Maharaj was that he chastised Kali, who was attempting to kill a cow. Now, guess what? His death also was wonderful. How come? Because he got a previous notice of his impending death. He got a notice of 7 days. How wonderful it would be if we got a notice and we came to know when do we have an appointment with death so we can prepare. We don't. We don't have that opportunity. So Prabhupada says we should spend every moment in Krishna consciousness so that we can be prepared for our final examination, which is the death. So here, Parikshit Maharaj, he got a notice of 7 days that you will die in 7 days. So he wanted to prepare himself. So he sat down on the bank of river Ganges to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadev Goswami. Now the questions by the sages is very relevant. They want to know, and here they have been informed, given knowledge that Parikshit Maharaj was very exalted. He increased the prestige in his kingdom. So then their question was, why did he give up everything and he sat down on the bank of Ganges to fast until death? The thing is, Parikshit Maharaj was liberated, a pure devotee of the Lord, And plus, he was in good association. He was a great emperor. It is said that all his enemies would come to him and surrender unto him with all their wealth. And he possessed everything. He was a king, he had opulences, he was a pious king. So the question is, why did he give up all that opulence? You see, even though he was free from attachment to all the opulences he had in his kingdom, no worldly possessions he was attached to. That is an ideal king. That is an ideal householder. That is an ideal devotee of the Supreme Lord, always busy in welfare of others. He protected his citizens very nicely, and everyone in his kingdom was very happy. You see, because his main interest was to please Krishna. And why was he an ideal king? Because he was not only pious himself, but he also guided his citizens on the spiritual path. He taught them simple spiritual habits, showed them how to focus on these habits so that one can completely, become self realized. So Suta Goswami informs Shaunaka and everybody else that Vyasadeva, he was born to Parashar Muni and Satyavati Mataji. So one morning Vyasadeva, he was sitting down and he sat down to concentrate. Where? At the banks of river Saraswati. Now, it is said that the Saraswati flows in Badrikashrama area of the Himalayas. And this is where Vyasadeva resides even today. So the incarnation of Krishna still resides in Badrikashrama, which is one of the areas of the Himalayas. So Vyasadeva, while he was sitting at the banks of Saraswati, he could see the past and the future. He could see that in future, where Kali Yuga is approaching, in future in Kali Yuga, people will be very attached to matter, everything material which is temporary. So, through his transcendental vision, he could see how the people will start degrading in this Kali Yuga. That will be the influence of Kali Yuga in which we are now. What will be the influence? People will become faithless, their duration of life will be reduced, they will be impatient, and there will be hardly any goodness left in them. So Vyasadeva, he started contemplating what can he do for the welfare of all the people in Kali Yuga. So to simplify the whole process that is mentioned in the Vedas, right? He divided the Yajur Veda into 4 parts. And in fact, it is said that in Chandogya Upanishad, that the Puranas and Mahabharat, they are known as the 5th Veda. So Yajur Veda was divided into 4, and the 5th Veda is considered to be Puranas and Mahabharata. So when he divided these into 4 parts, this chapter says that Paila Rishi, he became professor of Rig Veda, Jaimini Rishi became of Samaveda, Vaishampayana of Yajurveda, and Angira Muni of Atharva Veda. Now, Suta Goswami's father, Romaharshana, he entrusted the Puranas, he was entrusted with the Puranas, Suta Goswami's father. So all these learned scholars, they taught their disciples, then their grand disciples. So like that, the knowledge was coming down in strict disciplic succession. This is the importance of parampara disciplic succession, where we get the knowledge as it is. So Vyasadeva, he edited the Vedas so it is easy for us to assimilate it. And the ultimate purpose of Vedas is to know Krishna. We learn that in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15. Vedescha sarver aham eva vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. Krishna says, I am the compiler of Vedas. Right? Vyasadeva is none other than incarnation of Krishna. And the purpose is to know Krishna. So Vyasadeva, to be able to understand the ultimate purpose of Vedas, to know Krishna, he compiled Mahabharata so that we can achieve the ultimate goal. And within Mahabharata is Bhagavad Gita, knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Now, after doing all this, Vyasadeva, he was still not satisfied. His mind was disturbed, even though he gave so much knowledge. Then he started reflecting. What is the cause of my dissatisfaction? Why am I not satisfied after giving so much knowledge? He actually felt incomplete, even though he was fully equipped, incarnation of Krishna. But that was a pastime where he was um, feeling dissatisfied. Many people, they achieve success in their careers, but still they find something missing. I have achieved everything that I wanted. I have met my goals, and still there is something missing. What is that? Prabhupada says that true satisfaction comes when we have a spiritual purpose, when we are on the spiritual path, when we have devotion for the Supreme Lord. You see? Success, recognition, all that does not bring fulfillment or satisfaction. No. The work becomes meaningful when it is connected to the Supreme Lord. That is what we learned in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3 and 5, how to perform karma yoga. Every action that we perform should be based on the scriptures, and there should be no desire to enjoy the fruits of those activities, right? So, actions that are done for material results, they will make you feel empty. So then one should ask oneself a question. Does my work contribute to something meaningful? Am I showing compassion to others? Now, here, compassion doesn't mean feeding the poor, building a hospital, building a school. No. Here, compassion is referred to giving this knowledge to others so that they can understand the purpose of human form of life and become self-realized, come on the spiritual path. So, am I distributing this knowledge to others? So, spiritual progress actually depends on helping others spiritually. Very, very important point. You see, if I have a severe headache and I found a medication that can cure my headache, and if I see someone else with a severe headache, it's my duty to share that medication with that person so that that person also can get relief. So when we take on this knowledge, we've got this knowledge and we are feeling satisfied with this knowledge, then why not give it to others who are dissatisfied? So here Vyasadeva, he realized he did not point out devotional service of the Supreme Lord in all that knowledge he had given so far. You see, devotional service is very dear to perfect beings and Supreme Lord. Without devotional service, everything else is void. And that is the time when Narad Muni reaches the cottage of Srila Vyasadeva. And that cottage was in the banks of Saraswati River. So at the auspicious arrival of Narad Muni, Vyasadeva immediately got up. You see, that is proper etiquette because Narad Muni was the spiritual master of Vyasadeva, even though Vyasadeva is an incarnation of Krishna. So immediately Vyasadeva got up out of complete respect. So respectfully, he worshipped his spiritual master. It is said in this chapter, equal to that same respect given to Lord Brahma, even though Narad Muni is the son of Brahma. Brahma is the spiritual master of his son Narad Muni. So Narad Muni becomes second in, you can say he's a second acharya in parampara. So first is Krishna. Krishna gave it to Brahma. Brahma gave this knowledge to Narad Muni. So he is actually the representative of Brahma, who is a representative of Lord Krishna. So equal respect should be given. So this chapter actually hints that earlier scriptures, whatever was given by Vyasadeva, did not fully glorify Krishna. They had a lot of karma kanda, jnana kanda, different parts of knowledge in the Vedas, but specifically glorification of Krishna was not mentioned. So even the most learned sage, which is Vyasadeva, he felt incomplete. So, unless the Supreme Lord is glorified, not only just indirectly but directly, until and unless that happens, one will not feel satisfaction. So, Vyasadeva knew that in the future, it is important, especially people in Kali Yuga, it is important for them to know the pastimes of Krishna. So that if it is given in easy language, in a very simple way, then people in Kali Yuga will be able to understand this knowledge. So he realized that his writings, whatever he had written so far, did not emphasize devotional service to Krishna. You see, he could see because he was transcendental. He had the vision of the future, so he could see people in Kali Yuga. They will live very short lives. Their memory is going to be very weak. They will not be disciplined. They will be unlucky, unfortunate. So many disqualifications. So it was important for him to give us something very simple that we can understand, and that is Srimad Bhagavatam. So, if we somehow or the other focus on very simple spiritual habits like chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, every day, the required dose. If we read, we hear, books of Srila Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, if we give this knowledge to others, then we will progress. You see, these are simple spiritual habits that we can focus on. You see, the knowledge is incomplete without devotion. Devotion needs to be there. There has to be devotional service for one to progress. And these are simple spiritual habits. That's devotional service: chanting, reading, hearing, giving this knowledge to others, following four rules and regulations. All these are very simple spiritual habits. You see? The intellectual understanding is not sufficient. Oh, I read the Srimad Bhagavatam or I heard the Srimad Bhagavatam and I understood it. That is intellectually. But what about spiritually? If our intellectual knowledge leads to humility, then we can say we have understood Srimad Bhagavatam. So the spiritual wisdom is measured by transformation of the heart. When our heart starts melting, when there is humility, right? What is humility? Srila Prabhupada explains in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13. One is not anxious to get the satisfaction of being honored by others. That is humility. That means we are not eager to get respect from others. If we are eager to get respect from others, that means there's no humility at all. So our hearts will get transformed and we will become humble when we follow these very simple spiritual habits. Chanting is the basic foundation of devotional service of our spiritual lives. You see? So, hearing attentively, chanting attentively, following four rules and regulations, reading or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and giving this knowledge to others, these are very simple habits. And all this becomes easy and possible when we start chanting attentively. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then it'll be possible to be able to not only understand, but also be able to explain it to others. You see, it is Not that just by reading Srimad Bhagavatam and speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam that one can become self-realized, or that preaching is effective. No, that depends on the mercy of the spiritual master. It depends on the mercy of Krishna. Only then one's preaching becomes effective. Otherwise, it's just a few words, spoken by somebody. No. And how do we know if our preaching is really working? We need to contemplate on our own selves. There has to be there has to be a change internally and externally, both. That internal change will happen when we chant attentively. Otherwise, it is not possible at all. It's going to be very, very difficult, you see. So, if we follow these very simple spiritual habits, then we will feel satisfied, we will feel happy, and we will become spiritually wise, which is very important, especially in this age, which is full of corruption. And oh, we don't even want to go there. There is so much unwanted things in this material world. So if we want to remain safe, if we want to remain protected, then we need to follow these simple spiritual habits. That will help us to become wise spiritually. It will help us develop humility, which is a requirement for self realization. So, this is how this chapter ends. So, we will end now. If anyone has any questions or comments, you're welcome to ask.